What a game! What a game! The Oilers and the Panthers, the Stanley Cup final rematch. Ultimately, the Oilers fall 6-5 to the Panthers and come up just short after putting together a pretty good game. Definitely some errors in that one, some misplays, and guys having rough nights. We will go through it all right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola with you inside the EST Satellite Studios in downtown Edmonton. You got Hernan Salas back at EST HQ, and Shawn Bell will be stopping by to give his thoughts. He is our game analyst for tonight, as he's in for Cass. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. We highly encourage you to join the conversation. I'm seeing a lot of text coming into the inbox right now, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. We want to make sure people are subscribing and get in on the nasty chat. We will be keeping tabs on both the inbox and the nasty chat to make sure we get as many opinions heard tonight on the post-game show as, the Oilers fall 6-5. All right, we'll get to Hernan Salas. Nancito, you were down at the game. Good to see you in the press box. You looking good. Your thoughts on what happened tonight, buddy. I want to get your thoughts first before we get into the scoring summary and the game stats.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are not gonna like a lot of what they're gonna watch on film. Some wonky goals, some questionable calls. The kick by Tkachuk there. They say it just deflected off him. I don't know what our nasties think. I mean, the shot off the face mask. Of course, you're gonna want that back, but that's. Sure, he was trying to do it, but that's rarely ever going to happen. It happened tonight. I thought the Oilers, Hyman was awesome. They bounced back, but they just couldn't get it out of their own way, Tom. Ekholm with a bad. I mean, I don't know if it's bad. He's expecting maybe one of his forwards to be at the blue line there or on the half wall, and he just sends it up to nobody, and that leads to the winning goal. But listen, Stuart Skinner already taking a lot of heat. Bobrovsky wasn't very sharp either. Look at the Connor Brown goal. Look at the Draisaitl goal. So if we're going to criticize,
the goal.
Yeah, let's criticize both goalies because they're equally at fault for probably 2-3 goals on the night. But the Oilers didn't help themselves. Evan Bouchard had a really bad night, and that's just, let's be honest. And it's not all on him, of course not. It was a bunch of things, but you just look at that. It was the Reinhart goal, Tom. There's a melee there by the bench. I thought it was a cheap hit by I can't remember who. Skinner. He goes right at him. That's charging. He doesn't even have the puck. But then Bouchard has the puck. He's in full control. Stop trying to make a fancy play. Just get the damn puck out. Yeah. And then they score the goal and he has his hands up. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, just lob it up in the air into the neutral ice. You see that everybody's caught up at the bench. What are you trying to do? So for me, there's a lot. There's lots of blame to go around here, Tom. It was a fun, exciting game. If you're a fan, you knew Florida was going to come in and score some goals after being shut out twice. And those are two good teams that got some shady goaltending from their goaltenders, both. And there were some bad defensive plays by both teams. So for me, it's low-hanging fruit to just sit here and say, Stuart Skinner. Yes, he needs to be better on a few of those goals, Tom. But we got to look at the overall picture here. And there was a lot of bad performances that led to those goals, Tom.
Yeah, I think Evan Bouchard would probably be the guy leading the way in that regard. Let's get some scoring summaries going, as well as some of your texts. I see a bunch of them coming in, so I want to collect a bunch, and then I'm going to rattle them off. Okay, Shawn Bell will be joining us shortly. We begin this game with the Jesper Boqvist goal, his 5th of the season, shorthanded. Evan Bouchard literally falls down at the blue line with the puck. That goal officially unassisted. The 8th shorthanded goal of the season for the Panthers. That leads the National Hockey League. That goal coming at 2:42, 1-zip Florida. Then Zach Hyman, he had an interesting night. Good one offensively. He buries his 9th of the year. Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard, the assists to make it 1-1 at 15-13. However, Matthew Tkachuk would get that goal that Hernan was talking about. Did he kick it? Did he deflect it? They reviewed it. Ultimately, they said that he deflected it and not kicked it. There looked like a little bit of a forward motion toward the net, and it came right at the tail end of a 4-minute penalty kill for the Oilers. Darnell Nurse, 2 minutes for tripping, and then obviously said something that hurt the ref's feelings and got 2 more. The officiating, I saw a bunch of people texting about the officiating tonight. Yes, I hear you. But I don't think that was the number one issue for the Oilers tonight. Tkachuk's goal stands up, 11th of the season from Verhaeghe and Reinhart at 1932 to make it 2-1 going into the second period. So the Oilers storm back with a fantastic second period. Zach Hyman, second of the night, 10th of the season from McDavid, and Draisaitl, 6:20 in, sent in on the breakaway. Great move, forehand, backhand, little tuck past Bobrovsky to make it 2-2. And then less than a minute later, 43 seconds to be exact, Connor Brown buries his 6th from a bad angle on a nice play by Corey Perry. Good keeping for the Oilers on that one. Brown, his 6th. Again, I'll reiterate, that was not a good goal that Bobrovsky let in. So the Oilers take a 3-2 lead. They would add another one before the period was up. Leon Draisaitl from a bad angle, scoring a nice Leon Draisaitl goal. I think a lot of people, myself included, would say that's a Draisaitl goal. You know, most goalies, he can bury those on them. Some might say that was a bad goal at Bobrovsky. That one coming at 9:24 on the power play. Draisaitl's 23rd of the season, assisted by McDavid and Ekholm. Before the period was up, it would be Gustav Forsling, his 5th of the year from Lundell and Ekblad. This one a bit of a weird bounce at 17:55 to make it 4-3. The point shot, Skinner makes the save, hits him in the shoulder. You've got Emberson battling in front, and it hits the back of Emberson and goes over Stuart Skinner's shoulder and trickles into the net. So that one sucks if you're an Oilers fan. I don't know how you lay the blame on Skinner on that one. Maybe you want him to absorb it, but that was a weird bounce. Okay, 4-3 Oilers going into the third. When, as Hernan described, that sequence happens at the Oilers bench, Jeff Skinner gets run over by Jonah Gadjovich, and then the puck goes back the other way. Evan Bouchard gets a handle of it. He's got time, goes up that same wall, gets stripped of the puck. 1 pass, 2 pass, Luos Torinen over to Lundell. Lundell to Nico Mikkola. He buries his 3rd of the year. We've got a tie game. Then 30 seconds later, this one, Sam Reinhart gets the puck, and he puts it off of Stuart Skinner's mask and in, and there was not a lot of room there, and Reinhart has his 20th of the year. It's a 5-4 Panthers game. However, the Oilers would tie it less than a minute later, 39 seconds later to be exact, and it is Kasperi Kapanen, his 4th of the year. This was a bad goal, but good hustle by that line with Podkolzin and Nugent Hopkins. Brett Kulak with the assist, the point shot coming in, and then Kapanen banks the carom off the back wall past and off of Sergei Bobrovsky. Give him 4 on the season, 3 as an Oiler, 5-5. However, 5 minutes and 3 seconds later, Carter Verhaeghe, he would get his 9th. Bennett and Mikkola with the assists. He kind of catches Skinner looking through Ekholm, and I think there was a Panthers player there. Regardless, he buries, and that would stand up as the game winner. 6-5 is your final in favor of the Panthers. They end Edmonton's 5-game winning streak. The Panthers get a lot of goals. They hadn't scored in 2 straight games, and they also get off the schneid, winning for the first time in a couple. They were 6-0-1 going into those 2 games against Calgary and Vancouver. Not the case tonight, as they get back into the win column after those 2 losses on this trip. Shots on goal tonight, 30-28 in favor of the Oilers. Face-offs, Edmonton dominant again, like they have been for most of the year, 58.5% to 41.5%. The power play goes 1 for 3. That's good. However, it does give up a shorty, and the PK goes 3 for 4. So ultimately, it is the Panthers that win the special teams battle in this one. Hits 39-21 in favor of the Panthers. Block shots 15 for Edmonton, 13 for Florida. Officially, you got 16 giveaways apiece, and then 4 takeaways for Edmonton to 3 for the Panthers. So there is your breakdown and scoring summary from tonight's 6-5 Oilers loss at the hands of the Florida Panthers. Text us your thoughts, 780-218-9999. Of course, get into the nasty chat. Like, share, and subscribe. As we get into the breakdown with our game analyst, Shawn Bell, brought to you by South Fort Chev. Upgrade your sleigh with South Fort Chevrolet in the month of December. Reserve your 2025 Equinox Trax and Traverse now. They won't last long. They've also got 2025 Silverado Customs with payments starting as low as $199 biweekly. See dealer for details at www.southfortchev.com. Let's bring in Shawn Bell in for Matt Cassian tonight. Bellsy, just initial thoughts from what was a highly entertaining 6-5 Oilers loss to the
Well, that was an interesting one.
Unmute yourself as well, Bellsy. I'm so excited.
I'm just so excited. Can you not hear me, guys?
Sorry, I had you muted. My bad.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, you had to throw the chirp in there, hey?
My bad.
No, that was an interesting one. We talked about in the pregame show the emotional engagement that you would have to have for this game, obviously being, a rematch of the Stanley Cup final. And I kind of thought they came out flat. Just a tad. I mean, that goal that, Bouchard gives up where he's trying to walk the line and he kind of falls over.
Literally falls over.
It's that was a tough one to give up. Like you've come out flat, that they're going to pressure you. Guys are kind of moving to their spots, and instead of just moving the puck, you kind of fumble it and you fall over and then they go in and score. Like I felt like that was just emblematic of the start of the game. And then it was just sloppy. There was just sloppy turnovers. Passes weren't tape to tape. It wasn't necessarily crisp. I do think the Oilers got going a little bit in the second period. You could see that their intensity got up more, which was obviously showcased in them, controlling most of the second period and getting those goals. So it was kind of a back and forth game, but I would say it was a little bit sloppy and probably not one the Oilers are super, super happy about.
But not Cass, Bellsy. My apologies, man.
That's all good, buddy.
But one of these games was due, Bellsy. They've been so good. They're not going to play 20 perfect games. They're not going to. And Florida's coming off 2 shutout losses, guys. And do you think they're sitting there? They're happy they got the win, but Paul Maurice is like, guys, man, we got to be better in this game. Like we were some crappy goaltending, some bad plays, some soft plays. And our chat's going off on Stuart Skinner. Listen, guys, and I already told Tommy this, Bellsy. Yes, Skinner should have 2 or 3 of those, but you got to look at the overall play. We just keep going back to him like he's a terrible goaltender. Is Bobrovsky a terrible goaltender, guys? Everybody's saying
makes $10.5 million and just won a Stanley Cup and let in 3 crappy goals. So
everybody's
by that
saying
standard, yes.
Skinner can't let a goal in behind the goal line. Well, Bobrovsky let 3 in today behind the goal line, or 2. Sorry. What's the difference?
Almost 3, yeah.
What's the difference, guys? Yes, Skinner needed to be better today. So did Bobrovsky. So did a lot of Edmonton Oilers. Like Bellsy said, they came out a little bit flat. You can tell by that first shift. Bouchard was off most of the game, guys.
He was their worst player tonight.
Yeah. There was one play where I think Connor gave it to him. He skated to the middle of the ice. He tried to flip it in the air. And I can't count on one hand the amount of time that Evan Bouchard tries to flip pucks out of the zone to try to create a race. Evan Bouchard's one of his best attributes is his passing. And this guy makes crisp tape-to-tape passes when he's playing his game. And so I look at that, and he actually just shot that thing into the opposing team's chest. And then all of a sudden it was right back in front of him, and he had no idea where it was. So you could just see that he was off and other guys were off. And it's, I'm not going to sit here and be like Skinner was the greatest, because he wasn't. But I mean, that wasn't even there were so many other problems that I don't think we should just sit back and focus on that one. Because even the goal the tying goal where Skinner got blown up at the bench.
Yep.
The whole team watched what? The plays going into your zone. You might want to get back.
Well, they were yelling at the ref too.
They're yelling at the ref. Okay, if you're that mad, then grab the guy and start a scrum.
He went off the ice and yelled at the ref.
Well, that's my point. But the other guys coming on the ice, if you're upset about it, okay, well, do something about it. If you're not, then you need to get in the play. and it was like slow, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it's in the back of your net. And the one thing on the detail on that one is I don't like the Oilers defensemen. They go down on 2-on-1s. I don't like it because if you're a smart offensive player and you hold on to that puck for one split more second, then he's completely out of the picture. And exactly what happened on that goal, he holds it for 1 second, steps around him, goes across the ice, and it's a tap-in.
Okay. I wanted to say a couple of things. Just Bouchard, I know we need to remind ourselves he's banged up, okay? We know he's banged up, and that is something that needs to be acknowledged. He skipped the morning skate. They play him just like the same thing the other night or the other day, the afternoon game. He still plays. They say he's a 50-50, or Chris Knobloch does on Friday at practice, where he stayed off the ice. So he's clearly still healing up. Now, I'm not going to say that's the reason why he had a sequence of 2 icings in like a 30-second span where he missed 2 outlets perfectly. I'm not going to say that's reason enough to blast one off your hottest offensive player tonight, his nose, and bust it. I know it hit something. It hit, I think it was Luostarinen in front, but it was just one of those nights where everything Bouchard touched was going back the other way, and it cost the Oilers somehow. I don't know if it's a star-crossed thing, a universe thing, but it was not working for Evan Bouchard. And I just want to acknowledge he's banged up.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, sure, there's lots of guys that are banged up by Christmas time. And the reality is you can't have games like that. I think it would be unfair to expect every single game is going to be an A+ game from your team. Yeah. You know, if you're a fan, like, I get it. You pay money and you want to watch these guys play, but it's unrealistic to think that they're going to give you an A+ effort every single night. Yeah. As a coach, you're looking for a B+, but like it can't go down to a D, because what the B+ represents is consistency. Right? If you're consistently an 80 or a 90, well, you're probably going to string together more wins. And so, you know, for Bouchard, yeah, you're banged up. Well, then simplify your game. Yeah. Don't try high risk things. If that's what if you're banged up and you can't do particular things, then simplify. But he wasn't simplifying. He was just doing things for the sake of doing things, and it just ended up costing him.
And Mike Smith via the nasty chat says, sounds like Tom is defending Bouchard. Defend. LOL. No, Mike Smith. He was horrible tonight. He was their worst player tonight. And I just wanted to acknowledge that we should remind ourselves he's nicked up. That doesn't I'm not defending him, and that doesn't let him off the hook for having a horrible night and leading to a bunch of goals against. I'm just saying he's nicked up. So it's something to note. I'm not defending him. He was bad tonight. Just want to clear the air there. All right, get your text in, 780-218-9999, as the Oilers fall 6-5 to the Florida Panthers, have their 5-game winning streak snapped, have their 5-game home winning streak snapped, and of course, it's against the team that beat them in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Boys, we're going to go to some texts here. If you have any questions or thoughts that you want to get in for Hernan or myself or Belzy, fire away. EA texts in, says, Vancouver and Calgary shut them out. Edmonton gives 6. Help me understand this, please. The Skinner and Bouchard we hoped wouldn't come back, made their appearance well known today. Why Bouchard wasn't benched at all and why Skinner wasn't pulled earlier, I'll never understand. Belzy or Hernan, do you want to respond to EA there?
But what does Vancouver and Calgary have to do with the game tonight?
It's a whole different game.
Like nothing. Teams get shut out. Doesn't mean you have to do the same thing the next night. Of course, you'd love to, but we got to stop with the comparison of the other teams, man. Like, it's just... I don't know. I'm just extremely frustrated with, listen, the game, yes, the Oilers were up 2. They should have locked it down. They didn't. And like Belzy said, you're not going to play your A game every night. Neither team did tonight, guys. And Florida was able to find one more. And yes, you shouldn't be happy. Sure, you're fans. Go at it. But like comparing it to their last 2 games and comparing it to Stuart Skinner's the worst goaltender. And see, we told you guys he was awful. And we're not sitting here defending Bouchard, Skinner, anybody. We're just breaking down the game and we're saying both guys needed to be better. And sure, we agree with that. But this whole narrative now that we got to get rid of these guys. And listen, Bouchard's not getting benched, guys. He's played enough bad games this year, and Knobloch's not going to do it.
Well,
you know why? because he's the best guy on the back end that can move the puck. And sometimes he struggles mighty like he did tonight, but he's not going to sit. Guys, if he hasn't sat already, he's not going to sit now.
That's the absolute facts. I mean, it's as much as we want to sit here and, lament his defensive prowess, the reality is when you're down a goal, you need him to play. And because he's a guy that's going to, score that big goal for you. He's going to move pucks well. He's their best offensive weapon from the back end. And so, it's hard, and I get it. Because I watch the games and I get frustrated too, because you expect to see something different. You expect to have those players in a game of this magnitude be on point at the whole game. And I understand the frustration from the fans. So I'm not going to sit here and try to change one narrative or convince you of other things. It is what it is. And unfortunately, no team today on that ice played their A+ game. This was not their best hockey. It was sloppy. There was mistakes galore, and there was things that just you probably don't expect to happen in an NHL game. And that's what happened tonight. There's a lot of stuff when you look back at the video, and I already talked about it, that the fifth goal, Skinner gets blown up just inside the blue line, and guys are stopping. They're waiting on the bench. They're sitting there. They're looking at, is the ref going to call it? Well, the ref's not going to call it, so get up and skate back. And that the other players are like, yeah, we should probably have that. We should probably have been in a better spot to help our teammates. And that didn't happen. That was not right there. It was just emblematic of the game. It was like their attention was focused on other things. You could see as the temperature started to rise in that game, that's when the brain started to go a little bit sideways. Because it was like, okay, well, we got to get going here. We got to try to match their physicality. We got to try to do different things, and sloppiness happened.
Is it because it's the Panthers?
I think this is probably, for them, was an important game. And I think, like we talked about earlier, they were trying to deflect and say it wasn't an important game. Well, come on. We all know it was an important game for them. They wanted to show well, and they wanted to prove that, hey, we deserve to win that Stanley Cup too. Whether or not it was in December, 16th or not, that's a big game. It was circled on the calendar. So I just felt like they started off flat because they were trying to minimize what the game was. And I understand that. But at the same time, once the thing amped up, I don't think they responded the right way when it came to the game being a little bit more amped up. They're worried about the
period, right?
The third period. Yeah. They just, pucks were missing sticks when they're, on the passes. It wasn't crisp. It wasn't quite there. But the good thing is it didn't give up. So I guess that's kind of, one of the silver linings, if you will, and I'll get ripped for that. But I mean, they could have gone away and they could have been, pouting after they went down and they lost the lead. But Kapanen goes in 39 seconds later. He's hard on the forecheck and he puts one in from behind the net. So it's, there's some things, if you're from a coaching perspective, there's some things you can take away and be like, okay, I like this. I know there's a ton that I don't like, and I'm going to get rid of all that, and we're going to show video. We're going to do all these things. But there's a few things that we can literally take out of this game and say, okay, guys, here's what it is.
780-218-9999. The Oilers fall 6-5 to the Florida Panthers, blow a 4-2 lead that they built up in the second. It was 4-3 going into the third. All right, let's go to Bad Billy here. Bad Billy texts and says, hey, Tommy and the crew. What a disappointment. You cannot just let your guard down up 4-2 against a team like this. Just too many mistakes in the Oilers zone. Bouchard, pathetic tonight, and the goaltender was not great. Hyman is a beast, and they're so lucky to have that guy. Florida plays heavy, heavy hockey. This was a game a guy like Kane was sorely missed. Dang, I hate those Panthers. Playoff atmosphere for sure. Thank you, Bad Billy, for that text. The vibe in the building was excellent. People were having a great time. They had a lot to cheer about. They had a lot to be disappointed about. Roller coaster ride of emotions, absolutely. Bad Billy's right about the mistakes in the Oilers zone. He did not like Bouchard's game, and understandably so. The other thing, though, that Bad Billy said, he said, Florida plays heavy, heavy hockey. How much of that game, guys, turned when the Panthers upped the physicality?
It turned on that not Forsland, sorry. That's the guy called
Forsling.
Forsling. On that goal, guys. And it was kind of a weird one as well. But yeah, when they started to get going, Sam Bennett, you saw Sam Reinhart, you saw that fourth line throw some heavy hits. AJ Greer, a dirty check from behind on Podkolzin that led to a scrap that the linesman wouldn't let them go. I really wanted to see that fight. But yeah, they got greasy and they got a little bit dirty. They played on that line, and you knew the refs weren't going to call that. As soon as they got away with one, you knew it was go time. But that's when the Oilers got to bounce back and do the same thing, guys. Like, it's almost like they were like, they're going to get tough. We're just going to kind of hang out with them for a bit here and see what we can do. And you're right, Tom. You said it. This is the game you need Evander Kane in, because he's the one that will grab all his teammates and suck them into that as well. Like, let's go, boys. These guys want to get greasy. We're going to get greasy too.
Yeah, and I thought they crumbled to that a little bit. Like, it's almost like they forgot what the Florida Panthers were all about. Like, that's the Florida Panther game. It's a little bit dirty. It rides the line big time, and that's what they did. And it gave the Oilers fits because they didn't have the answer to it, and they didn't try to answer that realistically.
Troll says, effing Oilers. I don't know how they keep losing to these jokers. They were the better team last year and this year, but Florida has their number for some reason. Can't even close out the win with Barkov out. FFS. And I don't need to tell you what that one means. Mike in Thunder Bay now says, Oilers are absolutely terrified of the Panthers. Who was this team I just watched? Not the team in the last 10 to 15 games. I'll remind folks they had won 11 of the last 15. The refs being absolutely terrible did not help. Sutherland needs to retire. If I was that bad at my job, I would have been fired years ago. Yes.
Can I ask you just a question, just guys? Like,
go for it.
I know that they're saying the refs are bad, and there was obviously missed calls. Let's go to the Darnell Nurse double minor.
Yep.
Was the first penalty that he got was a penalty, right?
Sure.
So then, Darnell, why are you complaining about the call? It was a penalty, and we can sit there and say whether it's soft or not. You just got a call, go to the box. Like, that double minor right there hurts your team.
Yeah.
Like, if you're one of the leaders of that team, you can't put your team in that situation. That to me, I'm not going to call it selfish, but it was just like, why? We don't need you. Stop talking to the ref. Just go to the box, serve your 2 minutes. We'll kill it off. Let's get back out and let's get rolling again. But you want to run your mouth because what? Because you cross-checked a guy or trip? I can't even remember what it was.
A trip. His skate caught.
Yeah, that's right. He stuck his foot out.
Yeah.
You did. So, I don't know. Like, you put your team down, and it was already at the point where Bouchard made his play, and then you take that, and then you have a double minor on that, and then they score. Like,
2 seconds left on that penalty.
Yeah.
The second close one, pardon me. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Like, Darnell's been great as of late.
Yeah, he has.
He's really stepped it up. But it's those little stupid things that cost teams. Tom, I mean, this team's way beyond and Bellzy. Those stupid. You can accept them once in a while, sure, but like not from a guy from Darnell Nurse. If it was Emberson, you'd be like, young guy got the emotions got the best of him, but not Darnell Nurse because. We're looking at it upstairs on the replay. It's a penalty. Like, what are you complaining about?
Is.
Just go to the box. Your team's doing well on the PK. They killed off the first one, like Tommy said. They scored right at the tail end of it. Yep. And it's just stupidity again by a veteran guy who's been really good for this team.
Yep. That's why I do think, because it's the Panthers and the rematch, those things that the Oilers had locked down in the last 10 to 15 games came up and bit them. Like the extra energy, overamped perhaps, letting the emotion get to them of this game. That's an example of where I think it is valid to say it's because it's the Panthers and they're trying to hype themselves up, and it actually ends up being a detriment to them. And that wasn't the only part of the game or instance where it ended up biting them in the ass, because there was a bunch more later on in the game too.
Hey, Tommy, and there was good in this game. Like, Zach Hyman should have had a hat trick. Probably should have had 4. On the third, going for the hat trick, he goes to the backhand again. Bob makes just a killer save on that play, but he was flying around. I didn't mind Podkolzin and Kapanen's game. The power play, they started a little bit slow, got better as the game wore on as well. I thought Kulak and Nurse were having a good game up until the 4-3 goal. And that wasn't on them, but I'm saying that moment in the game, it almost seemed like it shifted to Florida's favor. So there was some good in this game, guys. It wasn't all terrible for the Edmonton Oilers.
No. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like there was some pieces that you could take out of that as a coach and be like, okay, I'm happy with the way some of our guys played, and the power play was moving pucks around. They got a power play goal. So yeah, I completely agree with you. So I don't think it should be a complete B fest, but for sure it was it was just a sloppy game, and I understand the frustration, but I do agree that there's things that you could take away from that to say, okay, we can build upon these things.
All right, 780-218-9999. Get in the nasty chat as well. The AI-generated thing said that people are overly upset about the officiating and some performances from players on the Oilers. Let's go to the inbox. Anthony on Long Island says, this one stings. Anthony from Long Island. Jay in the park says, I honestly can't believe they kept putting Bouchard out there tonight. 2 giveaways in his own zone for goals. Bad penalty. His outlet passing was brutal. I counted at least 5 passes that weren't close to anybody, resulting in icing and getting Edmonton hemmed in. Not loving the crumbling that's been happening in third periods, but good stretch back in the win column against Boston. There was crumbling in third periods a month and a half ago. Philadelphia, the Islanders, there was a couple of other games in there where they were giving up multi-goal leads. They do it again tonight. Not a good sign. It is the defending cup champs. Emotions riding high. I think that does play into this tonight. Let's go to Brandon from Windsor. Says, guys, I'm a huge Skinner supporter, but he lost this one for the Oilers tonight. When you put up 5 goals, you should win. I'd play Pickard the next 2 games. All right, there's a lot of Skinner discussion. Mm-hmm. I'll start with you, Belle. Mm-hmm. People are saying, why didn't he get pulled? Why this? Why that? What would you say about Stu Skinner tonight?
It's hard because, there was moments where he made decent saves. Yes, there's a plethora of goals maybe he wants back. You can break a lot of them down, like the one behind the net off the mask. That's just a really good play. Like, you can't. That's tough to stop that. Like, if Connor McDavid scores that,
yeah, thank you.
We all sit here and be like, "Wow, that was terrific," and it was a heads-up play by Reinhart. Then you have the one that's backdoor. I think to Mikkola. We've talked about going across the road at great length. That's a tough one, but there is definite goals where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you maybe should stop that. And the way that the Oilers were playing, come third period. Even if you put Pickard in the net, is the game changing? That would be the question I ask.
I don't think so.
Because I don't think it is either. And yeah, maybe it's, maybe you're pulling Pickard to give the team a spark. But at the time that, in the second period, they didn't really need a spark. They were controlling the second period. So it's hard to do. And then you look down the ice and Bobrovsky's kind of having the same game as Skinner.
Yep.
And they're not pulling him. It's just one of those games. It's a tough question to answer because yeah, you could have, but would it have changed anything? And I think as for coaches, you always have to weigh that factor.
780-218-9999. Hernan, any thoughts on Skinner tonight?
I think I said, I'm not sitting here defending Stuart Skinner. Yeah, you want to save at least 2 of those goals. And I thought you guys made one of the best points, if not the best point of the night. If Connor McDavid scores that, we're glowing over it. The greatest goal. Mm-hmm. Like, what a brilliant forward the Edmonton Oilers have, right? So, but when it's the other team, it's what a horrible goaltender, right? And like I said earlier, I mean, try that 10 times, you'll probably score maybe once. Maybe, guys. Like, it's not often you see that play. Yes, Skinner had to be better, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's a horrible goaltender. They need to trade him. They need to upgrade it. He's been really good as of late. A game like this was due, guys. And I agree also that if Pickard's in net, it's probably still 6-5.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not get crazy here, guys. We're talking about Calvin Pickard.
I'm not going to say Stu Skinner was not to blame. He let in goals that he should have seen, okay? So did Bobrovsky at the other end. It was one of those games. It was not a goaltender's duel. But the thing that I am just taken by is Skinner puts together a really nice stretch of games, right? Sprinkled in with some good games from Pickard. The Oilers are back in the mix, trying to fight for top spot in the Pacific Division. He just beat Vegas. They got a win in mini from Pickard, which was great. They had beat Colorado, and you're looking at 940s, 950s, all these great sterling numbers that fans of this team were clamoring for. Then one game that they lose 6-5 in an emotional game against the defending Cup champs, who are definitely in their head, and people are just screaming for his head. That's the part where I'm just like, you guys, come on. Like, can we take a deep breath, rationalize? You're acknowledging the fact that Bobrovsky was equally as shaky as Skinner. So you're going to crucify him now just like you were a month and a half, 2 months ago? That's the part where I'm like, whoa. Hold your horses here. One blip since a month and a half, 2 months ago. And we're jumping to conclusions like this. I think it's emotion. I think generally it's a few adult beverages that kind of fuel that fire as well. For some, not all, obviously. But if you take a deep breath and a step back and you go, you know what? Stu Skinner's been pretty damn good. He made a great save, by the way, on Carter Verhaeghe late to keep it a 1-goal game and give the Oilers a chance. He, among others, did not have great nights. He's not.
I think it's it's easy to blame the goaltender. It always is. It's the easiest scapegoat. And you always say, okay, if the goaltender is better, then we're going to win games. And it's not necessarily true because, like, if you don't play D and you give up grade A chances to elite shooters, like, you're basically flipping a coin. It's 50%. So, like, I understand. Yeah, there was goals that he probably should have had. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to sit here and defend it. But at the same time, like, there's got to be some, like, give and take here, because he put on a great string of games, and then today it was a bit of an egg. Like, in reality, he was actually fine. Like, he made some saves, he didn't make saves.
And that's the thing. I think that's where, listen, fans are passionate, especially here in Edmonton, and that's why we love them, and that's why they tune in, because we read their texts and messages, and sometimes we disagree. Well, we disagree a lot, but that's the thing. Like, it's okay to be upset.
Sometimes we agree and just pretend to disagree. Make an interesting conversation too.
It's okay to be upset tonight that the goaltending wasn't good enough. Sure. But, like, the thing I think that's getting to some people is just, like, it doesn't mean you need to go trade for a goalie, guys. It's not the end of the world when it comes to the goaltending of the Edmonton Oilers. It's one game. I'd understand if this was Stuart Skinner's last 5 games and he's allowed 5 goals a game. Go ahead.
2 days ago, guys, he was a king in this city.
He was.
How quickly it turns in some people's eyes. All right.
Well, I like this one here. Mike Smith in the nasty chat just said, "Hey, Shawn Bell, if Bobrovsky was playing for the Oilers tonight, we would have won 7-0. Matt Cassian."
Well played, Mike Smith. Well played. That makes me. We are laughing.
I love this stuff. I get a kick out of some of this stuff. Like, it cracks me up. Like,
okay, keep those.
If it's the same Bobrovsky, no, you're not. So,
no, exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, let's go to Stanley and YYC. Just terrible game defense wise. Bob was just as bad on the other side, but they got one more save out of him than the Oilers did out of 74. 2 was way more taketh than giveth tonight. 14 with an uncharacteristically bad game. Hope it's just one of, or just a one-off. 74, the tale of inconsistency continues to follow. See, I disagree with that. Can be great and bad at the same time. Amazon Prime, 0-3 record. I don't want to watch anymore on Prime. One positive. The Oilers finally scored on Prime. Stanley and YYC. Well, good news, Stanley. They have one more Prime game this season. Big Uke says neither team was on their game. Refs were great. That was exciting as hell. Backyard Shinny, I'm not upset about that. We are still scoring goals, and this was arguably one of the toughest 3-game stretches with Mini, Vegas, and Florida. I'll take 2-1 any day. Thanks for the text, Big Uke. Juan just simply says, what did Bouchard do right in that game?
Yeah,
Well played. Okay. Nadzo and Belzy, I'm going to read Shaggy and St. Albert. We'll get a little breakdown, and then I'm going to go to the turning point, and then we're going to get Belzy's thoughts going into Thursday's game against Boston. Shaggy and St. Albert with this. Only one game, but Panthers show why they are cup champs, and the Oilers show how soft they are. Oilers were bullied by Panthers. Bouchard with a couple of patented Bouchard botches led directly to 2 goals. Skinner with the stinker of a goal. Oilers are not ready for prime time. Blow a 2-goal lead. Like in Game 7, this loss was team effort. The usual suspects, Bouchard, Nurse, and goalie Skinner. Bobrovsky makes the big save, which Skinner could not. Great reminder of how they blew it Game 7. In playoffs, this game won't, but still stinks. That's exactly what it says at the end. I don't know what that line means at the end. All right. Anything off of Shaggy and St. Albert there, or is it a rehash of everything we've kind of...
You know what I wish this show had is recapping the goals by putting the videos on, and then we could literally go down and break down every mistake that happened, so we could sit here and stop saying it's the usual suspects. And hey, I'm not disagreeing with some of the stuff, and yes, there was bad, but there's so many on some of those goals. There were so many mistakes that as a coach, you want to put your head through a wall.
Yeah,
there were so many mistakes, and it didn't come down to just one particular player over another particular player, because the whole thing, and one of the biggest things, lessons that I've heard was that from a coach was, if you guys do your job and there's one mistake, it's easy to correct. But if there's 10 mistakes, that's when coach go, great. See my beard? Great. So that's what happened today. There was tons of mistakes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they went in the back of the net. And you can't just, yes, Bouchard wasn't great. Yes, Nurse wasn't great. Yes, Ekholm wasn't at his best. Yes, Skinner wasn't at his best. But there was a lot of other Oilers, not named Hyman, that weren't very good. It is what it is.
And Nurse was sure, Nurse could have been better, but I don't think he was awful.
I thought he was okay. There was...
He's a +1. He's the only
this...
plus defenseman on the team tonight. And then, I mean, a funny moment, he's on a breakaway and he stumbles. Like it brought me back to Scott Ferguson back in the day when he got a breakaway, ran out of the box and just fell. He laughed it off too. Guys, like, we're not making fun of him. He went to the bench laughing, like saying, God, I'm an idiot. He just lost an edge and went down, right? So I don't know. I don't know where that Nurse kind of hate's coming from tonight. I don't think he was terrible.
I just think some people just want to hate on those guys because they're still in the crosshairs for them. And good play from those players in particular kind of, doesn't give the fuel and air and oxygen necessary to get that fire going again. And tonight is a night where some feel like that fuel and oxygen is there, so they take full advantage. So that's just a theory, just saying. Okay. Let's get to the turning point, and then we'll get Belzy's thoughts going into the game against Boston. Of course, the turning point of the game brought to you by Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy. At Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach, trusted by the best in the game. The turning point tonight, gentlemen, is going to be that 30-second span where the Florida Panthers in the third period go from being down 4-3 to being up 5-4, because I think that's when they knew they had the Oilers and could start to up the physical play and could take the game away from Edmonton. Edmonton did fight back with that Kasperi-Kapanen goal at 8:02, but that 30-second span at 6:53 when Mikkola scored after Gadjovich destroyed Jeff Skinner, and there was no response, and then there was a Bouchard turnover, and then at 7:23 when Reinhart just finds that small sliver of space off of Skinner's mask and in, to me, that was when the Panthers were like, all right, let's kick it into high gear here, and this game is indeed winnable. So that will be your Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy turning point of the game. Shawn Bell, our game analyst. The Oilers get the Boston Bruins on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. Boston is not a world beater like it used to be. They do have a 6-4 record in the last 10. They're 16-13-3 as of tonight. How do the Oilers prepare themselves for a Bruins club that will be in Calgary tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they just got to get back to their game. I mean, it's a one-game little blip here, and once again, I don't think they were so awful that we're going to sit here and be like, man, you got to watch video for the next couple of days here and completely dissect your game and change everything. I think you watch the video to see what you did well, and you bring that energy and you bring that game into the game against the Boston Bruins, and it's a team that you should beat. So get on the gas pedal and outskate them, out-forecheck them, and you'll be back in the winning column.
Hey, Bellsy,
go ahead, Hernan.
I was just going to say, you said you wish we can play goals and dissect them. Just tune in tomorrow to EST Afternoons for highlights, lowlights. We'll have a few of the goals on there.
Done.
Well, Thank you. What? We have that capability too. Maybe that's something we start doing. I know it caters to our viewership, but I think the listenership is pretty strong.
Yeah.
But I think that is something that we could look at doing for sure, adding another wrinkle to this fine program. Shawn, great work as always, my friend. I will see you Wednesday.
Sounds good. See you, boys. Nasty chat. Stay spicy.
Oh, Shawn Bell, our game analyst, helping us break down the Oilers 6-5 loss at the hands of the Florida Panthers.
Tommy, I have audio, and we can I can set up Reed if you want as well.
Yep. Hey, keep those
texts
coming in.
You let me know. You're the captain.
Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Reed Wilkins is standing by. How about we run some of that audio and video? Who do we have, Hernan?
How about we go with Evan Bouchard?
Perfect. And then coming out of Evan Bouchard, we'll have Reed Wilkins on.
Perfect. Here's Evan Bouchard following tonight's 6-5 loss to the Florida Panthers.
Obviously, it was a tough start and just tough to get it back on track.
Yeah, it's that way.
See a guy like I don't know if they ever topic like that. And is it hard, like something like that when it happens, not to let it frustrate you?
Yeah, I mean, one of those you could try that move 100 times, it'll happen once or twice. Fortunate, ended up in a goal.
You guys have done a nice job lately limiting things defensively and stuff. Do you feel like maybe the last couple of games it's gotten away from you a little bit here, and why do you think that is?
I wouldn't say it got away from everyone, no. Myself, maybe yes. So there's definitely work to be done there.
You talked about this before, Evan, and you weren't shy to say, hey, I got to play better. So when you look at your game specifically right now, what do you want to improve on? Where do you want to get better?
A lot of everything. Not acceptable tonight. Yeah, be better next game.
Is it, the thing about you is whether you make a mistake or whether the puck goes in your net, no matter whose fault it is, they play you more because they need goals. So in a night like this, when it's going in your net, they keep throwing you out there confidently, but is it hard to find your confidence, when things aren't going right?
Not really, no. I just got to find a way to make the play.
When there's been a game with 10 goals and there's 11 minutes left, it's back and forth for both teams. Is it possible to say, okay, we got to try to win the last 11 minutes 1-0, or is this mindset still like, man, how much is going to happen here in the end?
No, you never want a game to get out of hand like that, but we're a team that can score goals. And when you score 5, you think you're going to win the game. We didn't, and yeah, I think that's a good mindset to have. We just need one more goal and keep the puck out of our net.
All right, there's Evan Bouchard. I'm going to rehash this quote. After he was asked what needs to be better from him, personally, he says, a lot of everything. And then he talked about the confidence, and he said, no, don't have to worry about that. Just need to make a play. Well, there were a lot of times tonight where he did not make a play. And yes, indeed, a lot of everything needs to be better for Evan Bouchard tonight. You heard Reed Wilkins there in the scrum with one of the questions. Reed Wilkins joins us now, host of the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne on EST, Monday to Friday, 3 to 6. Rick, what was your sense of Bouchard and his responses and then his game? Because he's been getting shredded, and rightly so tonight.
Yeah, I think he felt like he had to come out and face the music. I don't think he was thrilled about it.
Good for him, though, to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they know they got to do it. And I think they just, in those situations, they just want to get it over with as quickly as possible. Yeah, I mean, obviously he made some big mistakes tonight, including, kind of an unusual play in which he fell down and gave up a shorthanded breakaway. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
mean, my question to him, I wish I kind of would have worded it a little better, but I was kind of trying to get at, okay, it's 5-5. Can you have the mentality that somebody's going to win the game 6-5 and it has to be you, or are you still thinking, oh my God, it might be like 9-8? How much crazy stuff's still going to happen?
Right.
I've said this on my show. I'm going to say it again. Oil Country will have to live with nights like this from Evan Bouchard for as long as he is an Edmonton Oiler. But you have to hope that they are few and far between. That's really my goal for Bouchard. Like he unfortunately, guys, he is going to throw the puck away like he did in Toronto again this season. Mm-hmm. It will happen. Mm-hmm. It's just that you don't want it to happen, more than every few weeks. You can't have it happening, 3 times in 5 games or whatever. So unfortunately, he made mistakes tonight, but it was a very odd game. I mean, from a viewer standpoint, it was quite entertaining. I thought it was fun to watch because there was action other than just there being 11 goals. There was a little bit of nastiness. There were certainly at least a couple debatable calls from officials. There still were the occasional good save, even though I think both goalies, I don't think neither goalie would be happy with their night, though Bobrovsky can leave with the win. The one thing I don't know, I didn't hear it in the car, but I don't know if you did it before I was back. Have you played Connor Brown?
We have not. Do we have that, Hernan?
So
I can get it right away. Yeah.
Okay.
Connor Brown said that they have to make things predictable for their goaltender. And that's something, guys, we've heard a lot over the years from the Oilers and from other teams. That when they're talking about defending, they're talking about making things predictable for their goaltender. So even if it might be a difficult shot, the goalie knows that even if it's a split second ahead of time, he knows that it's coming. Mm-hmm. The most obvious situation is a defending a 2-on-1. It's going to be a difficult save, but the defender will try to make it so it's not a pass across. Right. And I think that's what the Oilers had been better at until the Vegas game, in which Knobloch wasn't happy with how they defended in that game either. So they had about a 7-8 game stretch in which Skinner and Pickard played better, and they also were facing more predictable shots. And I think that was part of the problem tonight, is the Oilers were running around quite literally on the one goal when they were trying to fight a guy at center ice and left a couple defenders and their goaltender out to dry. So in that situation, that's no longer a predictable situation for Skinner, because he's like, well, 3 guys who are supposed to be defending me are trying to fight by the other team's bench. So I think that's phase 1 of the defending. And then the other thing is, even in a game in which your team is checking well, a goalie still has to make a difficult save or 2 along the way. Skinner didn't, except for maybe that I heard you mention that one on Verhaeghe, I think when it was 6-5, Tom. And I also just thought it was a night when some weird goals went in. I mean, the Connor Brown one-timer, Bobrovsky, I think, usually would stop that, even if it was a one-timer.
Even Draisaitl's goal, the way he stabbed at it. And Draisaitl...
Yeah, he was actually there. He was actually there, but not there.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I heard you guys talking about Skinner. If I were going to criticize Skinner on one goal, it would actually be the third one. Because when you have it, you got to have it.
Yeah.
If it hits you, you got to find it. That's part of being I'm not saying it's easy, but that's part of being a goalie. And it was kind of one of those. I saw the replay 5 times. I'm still not sure where the puck was.
I swear it hit Emerson. After Skinner saves, it hits him up in the shoulder, bounces out. Emerson's in a battle right in front. It hits Emerson's back and then bounces back over Skinner's shoulder. That's my interpretation of what I saw.
Yeah, maybe that's just a weird one. Look, and I heard you guys talking about it. The Reinhart goal, that is an elite offensive play. Those goals are now scored around the NHL. And I get the fan frustration with it. You guys know I used to talk to Kelly Rudy all the time, and he didn't like it as a former goaltender how goalies play those angles, but that's how they play them. We saw Saros get beaten by a Vancouver Canuck in the playoffs. Skinner got beaten by one in the Canucks in the playoffs. McDavid and Draisaitl have both scored goals off goalies' heads and off their name bars. Their players are trying to do that. And until goalies and goalie coaches say we have to defend that shot, they're going to keep going in occasionally. And I think goalies and goalie coaches are saying they don't go in often enough for me to overhaul my style of play based on that one potential for a goal. I know that's frustrating for fans to hear, especially when it's your favorite team's goalie that lets one in like that tonight. But it was, I mean, again, I don't think either coach is thrilled. I'm sure the Panthers aren't thrilled to give up 5, but ultimately they made more plays in the third period to get the win. I thought, do you want me to keep going?
Reed, I was going to ask you a question, Reed. Maybe you're going to touch on this. Did you feel that the game shifted physically in Florida's favor there towards the end of the second?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought that here's what I thought. And I agree with you about the turning point, Tom, but even before that, I thought that Forsling goal I mentioned was big because it cut it from 4-3 to 4-2. Mm-hmm. And then also the Nurse elbowing penalty on Tkachuk. I know Florida didn't score on that, but I think it just gave them another little bit of a bounce. Like we just scored, and bounce I mean by like an uplift in their emotion. Yeah. They scored, Nurse took a penalty. Tkachuk, of course, made sure everybody in the building knew what a devastating elbow it was, but that's another story. So Florida goes to the dressing room feeling we're down 1. We still got 48 seconds on a power play. Yep. And then even if we don't score, maybe we can get them on the back heel a little bit. But then, I mean, this is what a wild game it was. The Oilers kill it off and Hyman gets a breakaway. Yep. And I guess that's probably Bobrovsky's biggest save. Because if it goes back to 5-3 Edmonton, I know Florida rallied anyway, but I think the emotional swing there would have been pretty significant.
That's like when Edmonton got that 6-3 goal when Vegas had put together a couple of goals.
Right.
And Jeff Skinner put an end to that. So, they didn't get that tonight. Bobrovsky makes the save, and the Panthers are the winners at the end of the night. Hernan, anything else for Riedrich?
No, it was just great sitting beside him at the arena and conversing and watching the game and eating some pizza. It's great.
I was glad to see you there, Hernan. I'll just, I know you guys probably want to go. I'll just quickly say also, and Knobloch said Nurse needs to not mouth off there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was also kind of surprised. I'll have to go back and watch it because we're just seeing it live. You couldn't quite see everything Nurse was doing. I was a little surprised he got on unsportsmanlike there, and they did score on it. On the Tkachuk goal, it would be my preference that if I were writing the rules of hockey, that goal doesn't count. Because I almost wonder if they need to stop using this kicking motion stuff and all this and just say, did the player intentionally put the puck in with his skate? And Tkachuk did. Did he use his skate to score the goal?
Absolutely.
He did. The plays where Hyman or these other power play net front guys stand in front and it ticks in off their leg or whatever, to me, that's different. But Tkachuk in that moment knows that he's trying to put the puck in his skates. Like, these guys are that good. It'd be my preference that goal didn't count. The Gadjevich play on Jeff Skinner, first of all, the Oilers can't get drawn into that crap. Yeah. If there's no whistle, you got to go play defense. I thought that was a bit of a dirty play by Gadjevich. Like, he's borderline charging a guy with his head down. I actually looked to the ref. I was like, are they going to call interference or charging? But again, The Oilers didn't react to it very well. Look, things to clean up. I still think this team is building in the right direction, but hopefully they can tighten things up against the Bruins, who they should beat, I think, quite frankly.
Yeah. Bruins have had their struggles, a coaching change this year, 6-4 in their last 10. They do play Calgary tomorrow night. Riedrich, you were fantastic as always. I look forward to hearing more and seeing more tomorrow on the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Reed.
What a guy.
Reed.
What a guy.
He's
Riedrich,
so
fantastic.
He's so popular that everybody wants to talk to him at the game.
He is unique and one of the best.
I just want to say I was wonderful to see Cam Moon. We talked Elks the whole first intermission. He's very excited. He wants me to buy season tickets. And I saw my boy Peardsy, man. I haven't seen him in years. It was great to see him. Give him a big hug. That big old galoot.
It was a good press box tonight. It really was. It was hopping. So nice to see. Big game. Big game. Oilers unfortunately come up short in this one as we get to the Damon Bunting Remax Late Player of the Game. If this is Evan Bouchard, Hernan, so help me God. I'm just kidding. The Damon Bunting Remax Player of the Game brought to you by Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate, the Latino Heat. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm not going to go Florida, even though the Oilers lost. And I found out 2 weeks ago I could pick a player from the other team. But I'm going to stick with the Edmonton Oilers. Zachary Martin Hyman, 2 goals. Could have had 4. Could have had the Hattie. Took a puck off the noggin. Was leaking pretty good. Came back. He was awesome in this game, Tom. I know he finished even on the night, but I thought he was really good. He scored a couple of beauties. Like I said, he probably could have had 1 or 2 more for sure. And then tough guy, man, just takes a puck to the face, goes to get repairs, comes back, doesn't miss a lot of time. So for me, Zachary Martin Hyman, and just for all our fans who are very, very upset about this loss, let's end on a good note. He is your Damon Bunting Player of the Game.
He is a warrior. He is a beast. And he was leaking pretty good after taking a boosh bomb to the schnoz. TD Force, great work on him, of course. And then he came back with a full bubble. And Hyman finished with the 2 goals, like Nancito was saying. 18:01 time on ice, and that's after missing a chunk of the second period. And that is a great call on the player of the game. All right, a few more texts as we wind things down. The Reverend says, Florida is a high-pressure team, and Bouchard not great with high pressure. Ryan from Saskatchewan also says, the team just won 5 in a row and lost to the Stanley Cup champs by a goal. Don't think it's time to burn the boats. Scoob says the only person who needed to be benched or pulled was Kelly Sutherland. No one likes a ref show. Nicely done, Scoobs. Peter in Saskatoon says, I can't understand the absence of commentary on the poor level of physicality demonstrated by the Oilers. Our defensemen were hit every time there was an opportunity. Theirs were not. No pushback, no toughness. If you can't play tougher, you can't win a cup. I think I'm agreeing with what Belle is saying right now. They were not able to raise the emotional level when they needed to. Yeah, we kind of got to that a bit, Peter. I eventually asked Bellsy and Hernan about the turn when it got a bit physical. Babbage Stash says, expletive, boys. I knew there would be a lot of goals, but expletive, damn. Though the Oil would get this one, or I thought the Oil would get this one, it's on Stu. Bobber didn't have his A game at all. Stu let in 2 atrocious goals. I was expecting a McDavid show tonight, and yes, he has a couple of points, but he wasn't McDavid tonight. Not to mention Bouch not having a good night. Woof. And then Coach Mike says, officiating followed the usual NHL formula. Call some penalties in the first and second, and then put the whistles away in the third. Uncle Jesse says, is it a hot take to say the Oilers played that bad of a game and still came within 1 of beating the Stanley Cup champs? Hey-o. Sean Z says the Oilers certainly seemed discombobulated, and the ref clearly didn't try and hide how he felt about this Oilers team. That was atrocious. Sean Z, good to see you at Silent Ice Center on Saturday. And Mike says Bouchard with a performance reminiscent of the Yellowstone series finale. Nats, a lot of text tonight, a lot of nasty
Holy
chats.
smokes. The nasty chat was hard to keep track of.
That was
and that's why we love it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, whether you want to get rid of Skinner or Bouchard, and you're just it is what it is. It was a fun game, like Reach said. Coaches are probably not going to be too happy with it, but the Oilers have a chance to bounce back on Thursday against Boston team that's kind of up and down this year. So I'm not too worried about this loss. Hey, yeah, it sucks to lose to the guys that beat you in the Stanley Cup Finals. I know why the fans are upset. You want better goaltending. You want better play around them. But it's one game, Tom. You're not going to play every game to perfection or close to it. So it's all good, man. It's all good. We move on to Thursday. We'll break it down for the next 2 days until we're blue in the face and then get ready for the Bruins.
Dell says Oilers just ran out of gas in the third. Well, I don't know. I think, like I said, with the turning point, those 2 goals that the Panthers scored, that gave them that little extra jolt. And yes, they were being physical. And no, the Oilers did not have a physical response. That's a tough lesson, if you want to even call it that, or that's just the circumstance of making more mistakes than the other team. Yes, a couple of culprits more at fault than some others. But we'll see if the Oilers can dust themselves off, regroup, and get back into the win column on Thursday night. That is going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Edmonton falls 6-5. The 5-game winning streak is over. The 5-game home winning streak is over. It was a roller coaster ride of emotions, highly entertaining, but the Oilers will see if they can get back into the win column Thursday against the Bruins. We'll have it for you, the GCL Diesel pregame show at 6 o'clock. For Hernan, Salas, Shawn Bell, and Reed Wilkins, I am Tom Gazzola saying thank you as always for watching, listening. We appreciate you so very much. Good night, everyone. Take care.